This podcast is brought to you by On Track Studio. I've sat across from business owners who have put out 34 YouTube videos, have a whole series of podcasts released, and actually consistently shown up online for years and have zero inbound client inquiries to show for it. This is not because their content was bad or that they need to try harder, it was an effort problem, but actually because this content did not have a system. And that distinction about having content or having a content system is what this entire video is about. Because if you get this wrong, every single thing you build on top of it will not work. Here's what we're going to cover today: why output feels like progress when it often isn't, the 3 layers that sit under content that actually makes it convert, and what a real content system actually looks like, so you don't need to rely on willpower, creative energy, and just hoping something sticks. Let's get into it. Before we get into this, I want to be clear on who this video is for. It's definitely not just for the people first starting out. In fact, this is really dedicated to people who have potentially been in business for years and years and oftentimes actually invested thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars into their business already. The problem is not effort, and it's definitely not capability. It's just that no one probably told you that there's a difference between content and content systems. And I started noticing this pattern so much in my discovery calls from people in all different kinds of niches, having all different kinds of budgets, and just generally look so different from one another. There was always this through line of why things weren't clicking into gear for them. And that's why I just needed to make this episode for you, because if you do not get this right, nothing else matters in your organic marketing strategy. Over the last 3 months, I've had conversations with over 100 business owners. So this doesn't come from theory. Over 100 coaches, consultants, health practitioners were coming to me presenting with the same problem. They were creating, they were showing up, but they had no inbound inquiries to show for it. The same pattern every single time. So let's name it. Here it is plainly. Having a YouTube channel, podcast, or even just an active Instagram account is not a content strategy. It's just a distribution channel. And confusing these two things is pretty much what is keeping a lot of business owners stuck. This feeling of, I am the best at what I do, or I have so much to offer the world, but I'm shadow banned. Or this feeling of, I am so determined to make change in this world, but I can't market, my content flops. And that actually contributes to really low vibrational feelings about yourself and therefore your business. It starts feeding into this imposter syndrome. It starts pushing people in a position where rather than actually growing this business that they're so passionate about, they have to go get a part-time or even full-time job to bring in the revenue so they can keep churning away at what ends up being a hobby. That's at its extreme level. This is actual experiences of people, so many people in the world that actually have done the training. They've actually have so much lived experience in what they have to offer the world. But because they haven't cracked the social media code, they're left still 9-to-5 grind or living month to month with this emotional roller coaster with what's actually in the business account. Am I going to break even this month? And this is so common for not just people starting out, like I said. Often this is for the people who are in, like I spoke to a lady the other day, she's been in business 9 years and this is still her experience. So I just want to say, if this is you, this is common. Doesn't mean it's right, but this is a very common experience. And that's why I'm really going to delve into this today to really get you out of this position that you're in. I'm going to call this segment Illusion of Activity. And I'm going to refer to one of my lovely clients in one of these conversations that we had. Let's call her Sally. She, for reference, has a Chinese medicine clinic that she's been running for over 20 years now. She is so committed to her business. She has been actively posting online for as long as Instagram has existed. She has healed so many of her clients' symptoms and root causes of what they've actually been struggling with. I'm talking like chronic illness level, right? Like that's like superpower level healing. And yet she still doesn't have any inbound inquiries for her business. The way she has survived thus far is purely through referrals from other practitioners in her vicinity that know about her, past clients, and a little bit whenever she wants to put money into her Facebook ads. She said she got 10 inquiries thereabouts in March. She got 39 inquiries in February. And this was because when I asked her, okay, well, that's a bit variance of for a pay-to-play marketing activity, what's going on there? And she says, I need to update the creative for my Facebook ads. And here's a little bit of a reality check for anyone who hasn't been in the Facebook ad space for a little while. it really is so similar to this, content creator hamster wheel that I talk about in organic content. So since I've been running ads for my book, I have to actually update the creative almost every 3 weeks. And it's pulled me back into what I used to talk about in my organic content. And it's just the game you have to play. Like the algorithm that is social media and that demand and that pressure to create is just exacerbated in the paid ad space. And we kind of delved deeper into her strategy there, because where she was at with her current strategy of actually getting leads, she knew she could get them, but she was also aware that if she was to turn off, and she's had this happen, because lead flow is low and she doesn't get the client base in that month, she has to actually switch off her ads, which means she gets no inflow of leads because it's all dependent on how much you pay. And, then the ads stop performing 3 weeks down the track because the creative fatigues. And this is sort of the cycle that a lot of business owners are in because they haven't actually nutted out their content system, which we'll get into today. I think ads are great for the creme de la creme on top of your marketing strategy to really exacerbate and pull in people who are within your network or just external from your network that would likely want to work with you. But this is the experience of so many business owners. Depending on that means that often you're just throwing money at an algorithm, or the moment you stop paying, you get no clients in. And this is what causes a lot of stress in business. But I'm going to digress a little bit, pull it back to the organic stuff. So no inbound organic inquiries for this lovely Sally, we're calling her. Yet when we spoke about what's going on with her business, what she's currently got in place with social media, this is before I exposed her to the content exit method that is in my book, if you haven't heard about it. But I was like, okay, so I listened to her, what she was telling me about her social media, what she was telling me about the lack of inbound inquiries, and I reflected back to her what I was hearing. So essentially, your social media isn't performing. And she came back at me, and this happens a lot. No, it's actually been improving. I hired a social media manager from the Philippines the other day, so it's really been improving. We've been posting 5 times a week, and I have had, within the last month, 80 more followers follow my account. And this is where a lot of business owners get caught up, right? We are aiming for leads, or we are aiming for clients, yet when it comes to the conversation, whether it's with someone like me or whether it's just a monthly review or quarterly review or yearly review of how things went, you're measuring it against a completely different metric. If your goal is follower growth, that would be considered, yes, progress. If your goal is clients or leads, it really doesn't mean a single thing that you've got 80 more followers. Of course, this is a sign that you're getting a little bit more exposure, and I'm not going to discount that completely, but it's really important to be honest with yourself, and when you're auditing these things, to be like, okay, what is my goal, and did we actually achieve that? Because if you throw your head in the sand with this stuff and just choose not to make that connection, you're not going to be able to improve. You're not going to be able to see the opportunities within your marketing to actually get the result. And this is what I call the false metric trap. For as long as you are saying, I want more clients, but tracking your follower growth or your likes or your views, what's that actually costing you? Because the time and energy and money that you're putting into your social media manager and all of the effort that you're putting into this content that actually isn't bringing in new clients, what's that costing you? What's the price of your most premium service or product? How many can you sell capacity-wise? Do that math with me right now. How many can you handle per month? And what's the cost of that premium product or service? That figure is how much this false metric trap is actually costing you. So first step here is to get real with yourself, actually acknowledge the data of what's happening. How many leads did you get in this week or month from your content or your overall marketing efforts? If it is less than you desire, you need to make a change. What you do not need to do is continue doing the same thing or continue feeling like you need to just post more content of the same style that is actually not even getting you remotely close to the goal. I see this as a form of comforting yourself because you are actually putting in a lot of effort with your content, which well intended, you want to sort of acknowledge the good parts. You don't want to be in a spiral about your business and the rest of it just because you have been putting in so much effort. So acknowledge that. But the most productive thing you can do for your business is to own that gap between what you're doing and what you want to be occurring. Because what I see happening so often with entrepreneurs is that obviously you are in a position where you have so much to do, so little time, right? So you get into this cycle of tick box activity, because ticking a box actually gives you the dopamine hit that you have succeeded. You have done what you need to do. So when, like Sally, you get out 5 posts per week, you give yourself a tick, you give yourself the pat on the back, you receive that dopamine, but what's that costing you? That same figure I got you to ask yourself about at the start. That's what money it is costing you to continue doing this. This is the illusion of activities. This is where people actually burn out from content, because you just continue to do the same thing. What's that saying? Beating a dead horse. That's a horrible saying. But essentially that's the same thing. You just continue doing it. You burn out. You're not receiving any actual return on investment on this time and energy, and you're just stuck in this cycle. So the best thing you can do is own that what you're currently doing isn't working, or what you're currently doing needs refinement to actually get to the goal that you're after. And notice that just simply doing the activity is actually not necessarily traction. And then you can begin in actually developing your skills, or hiring the right people, working with the right people to get the result that you want. We're in business to make money, to make impact. Both of those things require a really high quality content system in place for yourself, but for also the people that you want to serve. So what's actually missing? I've got 3 layers that I want to go through today. The first layer required in any content system is positioning. Who are you creating content for? A massive trap I see actually with really, really incredible coaches and consultants is that they accidentally talk to their peers within their content, not their ideal clients. I'll use one of my past clients as an example for this. She's a healthcare practitioner, and basically a lot of her content before we worked together was really deep, which is tick. But it was about things like makeup of supplements and really in-depth information that would really work if she was going into the space of actually coaching other practitioners or mentoring other practitioners and things like that. But for her ideal client was a woman who was struggling with gut health, acne, and general like menstrual cycle sort of things. So for that woman, you know, she's aged between 20 and 30, let's say, she is not going to search for what's the makeup of a supplement unless she's really looking to getting into the space herself. She's probably going to scroll past the real dense supplement makeup content. And so this content is actually really, really good, but it's not for her ideal client. So it's wasted energy. So you really got to think about, okay, what are the problems that my ideal client actually are suffering with or dealing with, or the issues, and what type of searches are they actually putting on the likes of YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Instagram? What topics are they searching for? What phrases are they looking for? What language do they use? And start from that place. I just want to double click on what language that they use element, because a lot of times, again, like if we kind of keep going with this health practitioner example, so you can follow along with me, the next step that often people will do is like, okay, how to heal your gut, right? This is probably something someone would search for, but you've got to think about the person who actually doesn't know they've got a gut issue. All they can see is acne. All they are experiencing is bloating, right? That person is not going to search how to heal your gut. They're going to be looking for, why am I bloating? How to stop bloating? How to heal my acne? You know, you really got to strip it back to the language that your ideal client is actually using at the buying stage that they're actually at. I think a lot of content systems fall down because, again, it's either talking to peers or using, you know, industry jargon, and that might not feel like industry jargon. Like gut health is a very well used phrase these days, but at the same time, it can be perceived as industry jargon because people don't know that they've got gut health issues until they've actually been exposed to the content that's going to help them through that process. So if you want to be getting new people in who have the symptoms that you help deal with, don't go too industry jargony and actually strip it back into symptoms they're experiencing. So that's a lot to do with the positioning with your content. You've got to think about, okay, this is less about me, the person who's creating it, and actually completely about the person I'm trying to serve, and creating your content, you know, topics from that place. So the next point is all about architecture. Now, this part of the content system, whatever content system you subscribe to, is so, so important for the person who's actually creating it, namely you, right? So you've got to think about how much time you have, how much depth and content is required for your ideal client to actually buy from you. So this is where I talk about the short form, surface level content program that people get stuck in. Reality is that people actually need 7 hours of content to go from seeing you on an ad to actually buying from you. So if you know that as a metric, how can you be an architect of your content to actually make sure that you're hitting those benchmarks and actually going to get the result? So this is why I'm a big advocate for that long form content element. So if you can sit down and talk about these topics I always say that really 2 hours a month is plenty of time to create as much content that you are required for that month. You can either use that as, 4 30-minute podcasts or YouTube videos and weekly drop them and then go out from there, which I'll get to in a moment. Or you might actually sit down for a 2-hour lecture for once a month, depending on your business. I think for the average business owner that I tend to work with, for 20 to 30-minute videos per month is more than enough to sustain this content system, which I'll get into the second part of it in a moment. The key here, though, in the architect of this content, I don't think it makes sense for businesses to expect, especially women, to expect themselves to sit down, every week to record. That's just giving you the same result and experience that the short form content demands of you if you're in that grind every single week. You're planning the episode, you're recording it, then you're reviewing it from your editing team, and you're just in the same grind. What makes more sense, and what I empower my clients to do, is sit down, block out 2 hours a month, and just press record for that whole time and record it all 4 off the back. If you don't have enough content or you haven't had enough time to speak freely and think about what you want to talk about in that 2 hours, maybe you only record 2. Then you can dedicate the other 1 hour to whatever else you need to be doing in your business. But if you're spending more time than that on the actual recording of your content, by and large, some people might love it and want to record more, go for it. But if it's at the point where you're putting pressure on yourself to record even more than that, I just urge you to stop and do less, because I think it's more about that pressure and that perfectionism within you that's actually blocking you from getting the results you want. I have literally built 6 to 7 figure businesses for myself and alongside my clients off this exact method that is laid out in my content exit book. Go and buy it if you want to do it yourself, right? So that tells me if the people who are in this position that I described at the top of the video, where you aren't actually getting those inbound inquiries and building that business for yourself, yet you're spending more time on content than that, what's that say? I think it says that you have an opportunity to do less and actually get better results. And I think the part of this that is more powerful than once you get into it is you don't realize how much that energy, go energy is actually tearing apart your creativity and your sovereignty and your ability to just speak about what you know and your authenticity, this word of authenticity. So many people talk about being authentic in content, yet they expect themselves to speak a complete idea in 30 seconds on an Instagram reel, and 3 of those seconds are scripted out the hook. And it's that isn't authentic. So architect your content around what is authentic. And for my people, the coaches, consultants, experts, and just professionals in their space, you talk to your clients every day. This method is for you. This is why it's had so much success. So remember that. Architect your content around your strengths, and don't fall into the trap of create, and just think because I'm doing long form, it's going to work differently. No, you make better content when you do less of it, because you're actually there, you're present. I'm here with you now, recording this episode, not thinking about the 17 other reels or the 4 other recordings that I haven't done. You've got to be present with yourself and be present with your audience, and that's going to go so much further than this frantic energy of and just fragmented content creation. So that's my biggest piece of advice with that layer. Layer 3 of a content system is all about the conversion pathway. Now, this is where it's two-pronged. A lot of people assume that I don't believe in short-form content at all, probably because I call it out all the time in my content. Guilty. This is not the case, though. I do believe in short-form content. I believe it is actually really necessary for gaining attention on your brand, on your offers. However, the way to do it is not to manually record reels. I believe that they aren't authentic and it ends up damaging your brand, if anything, because you just sound like every other generic coach out there. But B, it's actually a waste of time. What you need to be doing instead is actually mining your long form content for the bits of gold that exists within it, the 30-second moments that are in this long form content, and edit it and drop it across your platforms. It is really important for conversion pathways for your ideal clients to actually see you multiple different places, multiple different times. It is pretty much impossible to do that unless you've got, 45 videos or podcast episodes live right now that they can go and binge. That's awesome. What is actually really important, I'll pick it up from what is actually really important, is that you need to be seen in multiple different places, multiple different times. You can build relationships with people in your long form content like you wouldn't believe, but when it comes to actually getting a sale and actually getting people to buy, it's about multiple exposure in different angles at different times, and social media gives you the opportunity to do this. My biggest piece of advice is don't let your long form content sit on a shelf and not get utilized, right? I have created a system, in fact, for my clients, which I would really recommend kind of getting an installed system for this, because even though it's a lot easier than doing the manual creation, it can be time consuming and you kind of don't like to watch. And oftentimes you don't really want to sit back and listen to the sound of your own voice over and over again when you're mining the reels, right? Which is why I personally created this system, because I couldn't stand that. But what the output of this system that I've created is, which is what you need to replicate within your own business to have a successful content system yourself, is yes, the reels, but also the written content. Don't sleep on written content. People love it. No matter what they say, whether it's email content like email newsletters or Substacks are in their heyday. Go Substack. I personally love Substack right now. And captions, LinkedIn posts, you can get all of that, extract all of that content from your long form video, which will replace all of the pressure that you're currently putting on yourself to show up consistently online, every single platform, every single day. You can do that in 10 minutes if you have a system like mine, or tops 2 hours if you're manually doing it, right? All you have to do is do it. That's element 1 of the conversion pathway. Element 2 is actually having an inbuilt invitation for people to come and have a conversation with you within your content. These look like lead magnets. These look like messenger campaigns. So actually initiating a conversation online on your short form content to have a conversation with you. These look like inbuilt ads. These look like links to book a call with you. All of this stuff needs to link back to actually buying from you. And here's the number 1 mistake I see people do in this particular layer. They wait for their offer to be perfect. They tell me, Sophie, I can't start advertising, I can't start marketing with my content until I've actually nutted out how my logistics of my group program or new one-to-one program is going to look. First of all, if you wait until you've got all of your ducks in a row with your offer to market it, you're going to have to wait 3 to 6 months until anyone buys it anyway, because people need time with you, hours, multiple different platforms before they purchase from you. So you want to wait until your offer's ready. So you want people to buy at that point. Well, you need to market it 2 months earlier, 3 months earlier. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is people don't give a hoot what your offer is, what the logistics are, what calls there are, what modules are included. They don't give a hoot about that. What they care about is the transformation that they will receive from your service. Can you market that now? Yes. Do you know from past client experiences what you've done, how you have healed childhood trauma, how you have healed guts, how you have sold properties, how you have actually created maximum wealth for people? These are the things that your offer will do, but you don't need to have the logistics nutted out before you start marketing it. Sure, you need to have the idea of how it's going to look when you get the client, but you're the one sitting over there with what was said at the start of the video, 0 inbound inquiries. There's no one asking for your offer right now. So why don't you work out what the outcome of your service and general coaching or practice is, and create content about that transformation. That way, in the background, because you're only working on your content 2 hours a month, you can continue working on building your offer throughout this time. You have the time to do that. Tinker away. Then by the time you're 2 months into creating content and having your content system in place, and lo and behold, you're getting messages about, hey, how can I work with you? I've got an offer. Or that will prompt you to create it and customize it around that exact person who is your ideal client. It will give you the freedom to do that and actually be a present coach and get that stuff done with them, and actually will result in such a better result for them and for you than if you're actually allowing yourself to be distracted in the fact, it's not ready. Tell you what, it's never going to be ready. I've launched my Catalyst program, and it's a beta round. And do you think it's anything like what I thought it was going to be? No. Changes have been made, because that's what a good program, or that's what a good coach, that's what a good consultant does. It iterates. So don't get stuck in blocking your conversion pathway because you haven't solidified every minor little detail about your offer. All you need to know is the outcome of what it will do for your clients to start marketing it. Mark my words with that. For as long as you don't have a content system in place, you are relying on willpower to be consistent. And you know as well as I know that it is very difficult to keep consistent when you have to run a business, possibly be a partner, have a family, include yourself in your social life. And the first thing to go is the thing that doesn't give you immediate results, which is your organic content. But the problem with this is that the most rewarding financially component of any marketing system is the organic compounding growth of what you're creating, right? You don't have to continue to pay to play. You are creating relationships with people. With the long form video being available, it's got the longest shelf life, way longer than your short form content. You'll still be getting views on the video you create today 3 years from now. It's actually setting yourself up for success, for compound growth. Do not rely on yourself to be consistent. It doesn't work. You know that. I know that. We've all tried the 30-day challenges to post every day. We've all tried just to use motivation to get through tasks. Not only does it not work in terms of the results that those kinds of strategies get you after everything we've covered in this video, but it's exhausting. It's not sustainable, and you need to be real about that for yourself. There's too many burnt out founders right now who are beating themselves up for not being consistent. There is an easy way to be consistent when it's not relying on you, but instead a system. That's what I have to say about that. Okay, so what is the content system? I'm going to recap what it is for you so you can really just go hit gun-ho on your own content with this. Step 1, identify what you're going to talk about and center it around your actual ideal audience, not around you, around your ideal client. Number 2, record long-form content. Set aside 2 hours in your calendar and sit down and record what you can as authentically as you can, as clearly spoken as you can, and then zip the lip. No more. Don't go and get on your stories for 3 hours and get on live for an hour on TikTok. Just leave it alone and go work on actual needle-moving tasks within your business until you've got the audience built where they desire to see you on live for that period of time. Talk to me then, and I might change my tune. But for the person who is not currently getting inbound inquiries, no need. This is what you need to focus on. Step 3, mine that long-form piece of content for gold. Create your reels, create your written posts, create your carousels, and schedule that content. I've already mentioned I have a system that you can install to do this simply, but it's not that difficult to do manually either because you've set yourself up for success in that long-form content. You've put a lot of depth and effort into that, so there should be plenty of gold for you to use for your platforms. That is a part of your conversion pathway. Don't forget that. Post those reels, post those carousels, get on LinkedIn, get that Substack live. You want more eyeballs, you want more connection, you want multiple different platforms connection with that same person. Do that. Then initiate a conversation with your audience. Are you messaging them? Are they messaging you? Do you have a lead magnet in place? Have you got an email marketing sequence set up in the background that's actually nurturing them on autopilot for you? Have you got the marketing infrastructure surrounding the posts and the content that you've got to actually let them into your world, get them on a call with you? Underrated. Get them on a phone call with you or a Zoom call. That way you can actually see what they need, see what they require, refine your sales skills, and bada bing, bada boom, you've got a content system. That's what you require, not just fragmented content, not just posting on Instagram, and not even just posting on YouTube or podcast, not just updating your followers on what you've been up to in business and the BTS of what you've been doing in business. That is another example of actually creating content for you and not for them. The goal is never to tick a box after publishing. The goal is recording is step 1, distribution is step 2, and optimizing for conversion is step 3. And these 3 things is what make up a content system. So if you made it to this part of the episode, thank you for coming. And if you're nodding along thinking, yes, this is actually so much more sustainable for me, I want to do this rather than the traditional marketing strategy that's been laid out before me, or lack of strategy that's been laid out before you, but you're not really sure on how this applies to your specific business or your specific offer, I want you to get in touch with me. In the description below, I've got a link to book a call with me so we can have a chat and see if I can help you with that. Otherwise, I will see you in my next video. Bye.